Hello, 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 my sunny girls on a sunny day. Hope you're doing well. I am Shiro, author of Date Like Cleopatra, The Good Girl Flips the Script. And today we are talking about our unknown unknowns. But before we do that, let's do. Thank you. Thanks. So, our unknown unknowns. So, if you've never heard of this concept, go look for Johari's window. Johari's window is the first time I heard about it, and I thought it was strange, to say the least. It's this concept that there are things about yourself that you don't know about yourself. First of all, that to me was mind blowing. I know everything about me. Is what I thought. But no, there are things you don't know about yourself. And sometimes it's okay because someone else will come and tell you something you don't know about yourself. But there are things that you don't know about yourself and no one else knows about you. And this is like, how are you meant to figure them out? If this life is about, well, partly about improving ourselves and getting to know ourselves better and managing the experience of this life, if there's this horrible thing that's sitting somewhere and you have no idea, of course, with the drama, it need not be horrible. But if there's something that's happening and you have no idea, how the hell are you meant to figure it out? So, as an example, in fact, I'll start with a story, but this is not the unknown unknown. This is something that I didn't know and I had no idea I didn't know. When I tell you, it is recent. A lot of my things are slightly embarrassing, but here we go. This is why we're here. This is part of my inner work as well. So it was. I had an episode not so long ago with a personal stylist, and then I got some help from her. And she came and we were going through my wardrobe and looking at stuff. And one of the things she noticed immediately is that my clothes were a size or two too small. And I was like, but what do you mean? I did not understand her. It did not click. There was something that wasn't computing properly. And she was like, yeah, well, I mean, not all of them, but some of them were. And I think in my case, it's these things that I have always wanted to be of a smaller size. So once I reach that smaller size, I just assume that that is where I fit. But it's more than that. It's not just clothes that don't fit. I realized that I just had trouble buying pants. I couldn't figure out how it worked and all that stuff. And no one had really taught me. So I would just go buy pants and figure out the ones that I like. In fact, I used to like some that had an elastic band because then they stretch and stop stretching based on your body shape. And I like them because then the only thing I'd go look for is length. And I thought, I'm sorted, this is me. Then what she helped me understand is that it's possible to have, first of all, a variety. I used to think that most shops don't have pants that fit me. That was just the belief system that I had then acquired in my head. And in fact, perhaps I need to look into it and try and figure out when I got into that belief system. But anyway, so she helped me understand that there are different styles and there are different ways to do it. And that opened my eyes because when I'm walking around and I started looking at different people, then I realized, there are people who are bigger and smaller than me who managed to get this done. So it's not an impossible puzzle to crack. So that for me was just like really astounding. So it helped me go into different shops. And then something else that happened in this process is that I realized that not not all pants are made for me, and that's okay. It was quite an experience because I'd go to this shop and then I just find that nothing fits me, and then I'd get depressed and think I'm so big. There's nothing they make that fit me. But then you realize that, in fact, I realized that they have different styles, and some of the styles fit me and others didn't, and that's okay. Then I realized in going to different shops that sizing is also very, very different. That whereas in one shop your size whatever, in the other shop you're the other size. And it made me think, okay, okay. So while I was closed up in this little cocoon, believing that the world does not make pants that fit me, I know. I realized that it is a fresh perspective that helped me understand that differently. And this was outside in. I needed someone from the outside myself, to come in and show me this element about myself. So that is something that others can see about me, but not everyone. But it's also not just anyone. It's because she's a professional. So it's not intuitive to everybody to understand these kind of things. And then I wouldn't have just trusted anyone with this information. So because there's an energy exchange, there's a contract. I've paid her some money and then she's providing me with a service, then that means I can't really get offended with what she tells me because that's specifically what I've paid her to do. So that I found super interesting. But now, what about the things about ourselves that no one knows and we don't know? Really, really, really. I wonder if I have an example. Yes. Ooh, I do. Hmm. So it was at work, and there's someone who would really, really, really irritate me. I just really get irritated around them and just roll my eyes and think, oh my God, will this ever end? How? Will this interaction, if it's a meeting, at what point will this meeting end? And this is just so terrible. And and at a high level, when what I thought is that I just don't like this person. But when I was doing the inner work, you don't just stop things there. This You don't take those answers and leave them. It's not enough to say that I just don't like this person. So it became a question of why. I had to interact, I had to go deeper and ask myself why. What is it about them that I don't like? And in that interrogation, this many statements of why, or just because I've done the inner work, just trying to correlate what is it about this person that is grating at me, and taking it a step forward, what is it about this person that I might be jealous of? These things are what's the word? I don't want to say that they're not easy, because they're not, but they are like an inner conflict. That's why sometimes I like saying that there are different people within me, because then it makes it easier. Because there's the one who's protecting me and thinking that I am perfect. There's absolutely nothing wrong with me. How dare we? How dare you question? So if I cut it down into different people, then there's different perspectives. Yes, you're perfect, but stroke and. In fact, yes, and. Yes, you're perfect. And there's a way that we can even improve you more. That there's a way that we can look at what is making you tick and make certain adjustments to understand ourselves better. Huh? So enter in the child and trying to understand what is it about. If I realize in this case the person made me feel irritated, and I boiled down the irritation to jealousy. They managed to occupy space in conversations in a way that I wanted. Yeah, I wanted the attention. I wanted to occupy the space in the conversation. And that turned out to me at a high level, because we don't always investigate. At a high level, I just thought, I don't like this person, they're insufferable. At a lower level, this is what was actually going on. So I had to go now to my inner child and see, in what circumstances was she not allowed to hold space? In what circumstances was she not allowed to communicate, to expose herself? Oh, that's such a bad word, not verbally, to express, that's a word, to express herself. Oof. Mm. And then what can I do about it? In what way can I create such a space where I get to shine, as it were? Yes, because these are things that we are taught. When you're younger, you're taught that it's bad. You should not be the one talking all the time. And the people who teach us this are right, first of all. Let's start there. It's not that they are mean. Because if you do go off, hogging all the space in all conversations, you won't have friends. Then you needed to balance it off. But then I needed then to find an outlet that allows me to be the one who is having that conversation, and not feel, and be, let it be okay, for me to be okay with it, and accept that part of me. In fact, that's it. Accept that part of me that wants to hog the spotlight, And it's fine if you have some part of you that does something that longs for something that is not, what's the word, I had a word for it but it's gone. Let's say that is not societally acceptable. It's not good. It's not nice. Look at all the superstars. That's probably how they create their fame and fortune. They dig in for that thing about them that is mesmerizing and fascinating, and they what's the word, they stick in their heels. They are not moving. This is me. This is me. And based on that, they're able to become millionaires and make all the money and make all the differences in the world. And it's partly what we're called to do. Well, what is it about you that you were taught to suppress? And that is the shadow part of you that longs to come up. I know the term the shadow makes it sound evil, vile, dirty. And probably that's actually what we were taught about it at the point when we were engaging with it, me wanting to hog the spotlight. But it's okay. Fine, you need to figure out how to do it, but it's okay. It's okay to do it. I was watching a documentary about, oh, why have I forgotten her name? She's this artist. I've forgotten her name. I wish I would remember it. But she's a mega superstar now. And she started off very, very young, and they were homeschooled and didn't have that much interaction with the rest of the world. But her passion for singing, I should say, and actually, this is really it, because she and her brother. Really, I'll put her name at the end. I don't know why it's just escaped me now. She's the one who has this song. She has a beautiful song on the Barbie movie set. What was I made for? Yeah, I find that song really nice. But anyway, um, because of not having had to be told by so many other people that this is what you should and shouldn't do. This is my interpretation. I'm just saying. I have no idea about what happened in her life. But the absence of the school life removed some of the societal teachings that we are all exposed to, the rest of us who go to the normal school are exposed to. And because of that, and because of her parents' encouragement, I imagine, she was able to hone this skill that she wanted to sing, that she was such a creative, and she did. So she and her brother creating music just in the house, and then she blew up. What was my point there? My point there is that not that you need to be homeschooled, but that there is a question mark on all these things that we are taught. These things that we are taught are okay, that the teaching itself is not necessarily bad, but if we are suppressing parts of us, we really, really need to allow them to come out. I have belabored that point. Let's see what else we had out. Oh, watch out for the things you find yourself gravitating away from. That's really interesting. Because what you're saying is that there could be an inner desire. Is my cat here who's stuck? Come up. There you go. I've blocked his path with the camera and stuff. Um, what was that? Gravitating away from the things that you desire. Mm, let's stick with that example of music. It's a desire of my own in some extent, but more. I've mentioned her before, but there's a friend of mine who just really, really desires to sing. So I like her example because she's really doing something about it. My interest in singing is just an interest. Well, I shouldn't say just an interest. Is an interest, and that's part of it. But do you gravitate away from things? Is there something, like for me? Is there something that I would really, really want to do, but then just think, no, that's for other people. You can't make money doing that. That's a big one, because that's what society teaches us to do today. I mean, what we're doing must be for some monetary not must be for money. So if we can't make a living from it, we can't. But then there's also the thought concept of who can and cannot make a living from things. I remember when I was young, I had a classmate in high school. This is my classmate's brother went off to the US. This was when we were in Kenya, and became a DJ. So this was in the years when DJing was, oh my God, frowned upon, to say the least. It was not a career prospect, especially in the Kenyan market. Kenya, you need to study to become a doctor, a lawyer, you know, there's that, then there's of course everything else you need to be doing. um I say it that way because that engineering, doctor, and lawyers were the ones that needed the most marks, so that's what people used to really try and get towards. Then after that, there's business and all these other things that you can do. But the point is, what is traditionally considered work? Not the point. DJing, a love for music. No, what are you going to do with that? Where's the money going to come from? How are you going to feed yourself? And today he's doing super well. He's like one of the, he and his group, what are they called? Homeboys, actually. They're the homeboys in Kenya. So that's a really big group, and they really set off the industry, if I put it that way. They were like the first to be into DJing. But he had the passion, and he followed the passion, followed his heart into doing what it is that he wanted to do. And sometimes we don't get the support. I don't know about his family perspective, but with a lot of us, we're told not to do the things that we want to do. Like I have had a classmate who was told not to do. I mean, he wanted to do heaven knows what, and he was told that he has to do law. And that's really it, because it's if you have this longing for something that's unconventional, and then the society around you tells you don't do that, your parents, your family, your school, everyone around you tells you that's not what you're that's not a proper thing to do, then you suppress it, and you might end up living your life sad. Because within the area that you really wanted to pursue might be your purpose, might be the thing that just gives you such energy and drive and force. And when you have something like that, the universe just conspires to find a way of making it create money for you. It doesn't need to be your for motivator. It just becomes that it's something that's so passionate within you. You're in flow when you're doing it, and things just fall into place. So ask yourself, is there something that you were taught not to want to do? And therefore you gravitate away from it. And a good thing to figure that out as well is to just try and remember the things you liked doing as a child. What used to occupy your time? What did you do? What what kind of games did you play? And I'm not talking about Kalungu. Playing house. That's not the point. Though it might be. Maybe your calling is to be the homemaker, and that's what you're really meant to do. Yeah. So that was that. Um, so I mentioned this in passing in my previous example, but this is seek out a third party, a therapist, a coach, a counselor, etc. Pay them, then you can't be upset when they tell you what you paid them to. Resonate with them and strive towards kind. Resonate with them. So in seeking out help, it's good to find someone who you resonate with. We all say look for a therapist. Well, I don't know if we all say that, but I highly um, recommend. I was going to say promote. I'm not promoting it, but I do recommend. I do think that having a therapist is key, especially if you've never had one. If you are African, I was going to say Kenyan, but let me say not even African, Sunny. If and just generally anyone, I don't think that there's any real divide. But the reason I moved towards the African setting is because Africa as a continent has been through so much. We've been torn away from what our culture used to be, and because of this, the society is rebuilding itself, and there may be a lot of hurt. There may be a lot of hurt that continues to be passed on, and we might this is something that we might not know about, that there's something that you're living through that has nothing to do with you, happened before you were born, and you are still living the repercussions of this. For the Christians out there, it's easy to explain in terms of the sins of the forefathers shall be passed on to generation unto generation up to the seventh, I think. For and in my mind, that talks about the trauma. I never liked that passage because I asked myself why are sins being passed down? Me innocently minding my own business. Why do the things that other people did have to affect me? But I mean, I guess that's part of how the world is, and is I don't have answers to everything. So in cases of trauma, you do find that happening. I like Eckhart Tolle, who talks about the pain body. The pain body he describes as this, think of it like this. In my mind, it's like mercury. So black mercury, you know, this thing that is formless and just moves around and is yucky. So what it does is that it I want to say absorbs the good feelings and the confidence and stuff like that from people who are of a particular group, and instead feeds them this negativity because they belong in that group. So with the African example that I've given, the negativity that keeps being fed on us is like the notion of black. I have a blog where I write about this, about the term black and the fact that it was created. It was a term created to demean slaves. It's not just the fact of color. Sorry, excuse me. It's not just the fact of color. I was at the Smithsonian in DC, African American Museum, and somewhere deep down, like on the ground, it's a basement on the fourth floor down. -4, I guess. Yeah, there's this whole setup where they're talking about slavery. And I found that there, this statement that, yeah, the word black was created because you needed to differentiate the black and the white. So with that creation of the word, creation, slavery itself, this notion of having separated people so that you have certain people who are, I want to say higher, but who are more important than others. Because that's the thing with slavery, you need to demean people. You need to be able to look at someone who's exactly like you and find something about them that you can use as an excuse to lower them in status, demean them. And there's a whole lot to say about that. And there's a whole lot to say about women. Don't get me started. On the books I've been reading about the fact that slavery was only possible because women as a class had already been demeaned. So it became so mankind, men came to see that it is possible to demean a certain class of people. So if you can do it with women, let's try doing it with black. But I'm going off on a tangent. The point I was trying to make there was that this term black, having been created from that dimension of being demeaning, has then come to mean a lot of things. I mean, it's used in, when you say the black market, it's just a term, it's just a word. But what you're really doing to people who call themselves black, and then you have a term black market that is meant to show something that is not good, something that is uh, uh, unseemly, something that is wrong, then there's a small subtle message that is being sent to black people that you are wrong. And just look at it. It's dark forces. Yeah, you're dark. Dark forces are never good. Dark forces are the ones that do evil things. And there's a whole list of examples. And what I do in that blog post is then I try to reclaim the word. I give a couple of examples. I don't know if I can think of any now. I can't right now, unfortunately. But how we can retake this word, how we can retake this word to have black mean something like powerful. In fact, well, the example I have in mind is the like all the limousines that are used by almost all, I mean, this is really a bad statement. I was going to say almost all heads of states, but maybe let's say in the movies at least. When you see oh, what are they called, when you have many cars following each other, the that of cars. They're always black. So black is power. Yeah. So having subtle things like that that we tell ourselves to eliminate, because this is how core beliefs are created. You don't necessarily see them and you don't necessarily know them. It's not something that you are aware of, that the word black has been used in such subtle, demeaning ways over all the time I've been alive, that I have come to understand myself to be demeaned by that word. Once you see that, then you can consciously make the effort of reclaiming the word and then doing something about it. So that is an example. And I don't know how I ended up there because I was talking about therapy. I was trying to highlight the importance of therapy. And I think I'd started saying the way you need to have someone that you resonate with. And it's okay to find a therapist that you don't like and move on to another. It's absolutely fine. Because this is, again, it is you. It is you who is paying someone to provide you with a service. So if your therapist and you don't gel, it can be detrimental. I know someone who, I don't know if I should, I'll just give the example because it's true. I know someone who was seeing a therapist who ended up hitting on her. And I'm like, that is so wrong on so many levels. That's just disgusting. No, no, no. Mm-mm. So find someone else, because the virtue of finding a relationship that works is that you can find out so much about yourself. You can delve in so deep and really accelerate the process of your inner work, accelerate the process of finding out who you are, because these things that you do not see, they don't they, it's not that they see them. It's not that they know about them. They don't have some cheat sheet somewhere where they understand everything, but they know how to ask you questions that help you delve into yourself and bring it out. And I'll say, I mean, coaching as well. In my coaching practice, part of what I've been doing, I really love inner child work. So this is having my clients engage with their inner child and see what it is that inner child, that younger version of them went through to heal them. Because if you heal your inner child, it's also an accelerator to seeing the things, to understanding how you're showing up today vis-a-vis what you went through before. Because once you heal the inner child, then you're able to stop reacting automatically. It's like the main character, you. By this I mean the you who you think of yourself as being on a normal day to day. When things happen, when you're cut off in traffic and you go into a rage, trying to understand why that has happened. Yeah. Some of these internal conversations with these internal beings, from the inner child to the other people who are inside of you. I like how I say that so casually. But yeah, I really, really like that perspective, because then it stops you, as I said earlier, it stops you blaming yourself for the things that you do, because then you have all these other people that you can blame. Yes. And who else had I said? Counselor, yes, of course. Because a lot of it is speaking it out. And I do advocate for journaling, absolutely. Journaling is something that helps you release the thoughts that are in you. And I was having a conversation recently with a friend of mine who thought that journaling must be structured. She wanted pretty little books that she writes in a certain little way, and she needed them to be heaven knows what. And I was like, why? Who are you writing your journal for? I was telling her that at the moment, if I'm having a heart attack, the moment I know that I'm going to die, perhaps the first thing I'll do is gather all my journals together and burn them, because they're not for anyone else. They're my stories. So I write super freely in them because I know that this is for me. This is not for anyone else to read. This is me engaging with me. And because of that, then it doesn't really matter how I write. The form it takes does not matter. I know a girl who likes to talk. She speaks her messages. So there's one who records herself speaking, which I found quite interesting. And then she said that she listens to them on occasion. Interesting. There's the other one who goes, locks herself in her car and then just talks and talks and talks and talks and talks it out, because it's part of processing. And when you allow yourself to talk freely, and really freely, as in without any structure and without any format, without any propriety, you don't have to do it in a certain way. You connect. You connect to parts of you that might come out without your knowing. There's something within the writing circles called, ah I start off that way and then the word goes, stream of consciousness writing. So ideally they say wake up in the morning, first thing in the morning you get up, just have a notebook and just write continuously. Don't care about what you're writing, but just let yourself write whatever it is that you're writing. It could be that I'm still sleepy, my eyes are not open. It could be about that football match that happened the other day, whatever it is. And this also just helps you connect with parts of you that you didn't know. So this is actually another way of getting to know something about yourself that you're not aware of, because your subconscious speaks to you, and sometimes through dreams. For me, my subconscious really comes out in my dreams. When I was younger, I used to think my dreams were just crazy because I'd have these dreams where I'm a superhero saving the world. But in time, I came to understand that sometimes they're telling me something. That dream might have been telling me that I was feeling powerless or powerful, something like that. So I tried to engage with my dreams. I tried to engage with the feeling I had during the dream more than what the dream itself was about. Because sometimes, again, my dreams could be whatever. But and if I can lock into the emotion that I felt during the dream, that helps me, that it makes it easier for me to understand what the message there was. Mhm. All right. Oh, you're going to like the next one. Dates. If you're single, date. There is no faster way to seek out your triggers and access your patterns. Dating, I mean, I wrote the book, Date Like Cleopatra. In it, and maybe you don't see it. Let me bring it a little closer, then you can see. Ha! Date Like Cleopatra. In this book are examples from my own life and from other girls, other women who have experienced dating and how they learned the things they learned about themselves, and how through inner work they and I have been going through understanding the patterns that we show up with, understanding ourselves better, and then it gives exercises, real life exercises to do to help you engage better with yourself, to help you build your self love, self confidence. Because if you're a good girl, the good girl flips the script. Being the person who has been has been taught to make herself smaller, to be people pleasing, to let others go first, then you you often haven't given yourself space to be. You often haven't given yourself space to be at the center of your life. And so that's what this book helps you do. This is, in fact, this is another unknown, because you might not realize the beliefs that you have. You might not realize what has made you tick. You might not realize why you're always in bad relationships. And that for me was absolutely true. Always ending up in relationships where I'm asking myself, why? Or why is this where I am? No, not that the people I was dating were bad, not necessarily, but that I was in a situation that wasn't working for me. And then always, it's easy to blame it on the other people. Then you'd say that, yeah, there are no good guys in this town. It's more than that. So this will help you with that unknown. Understand why you gravitate towards certain people. And we'll talk about, I mean, we've spoken about the shadow. So we can speak a little more about the shadow in terms of the bad boy effect. Yeah, you, my girls who love the bad boy. And it's that if there's a part of you that hasn't been allowed to do certain things and you like those things, I was really just thinking about this the other day, because I used to have this really big attraction to like boys who um are not the winners. So the ones who are struggling, the one who life hasn't been for, the underdog, I think that's the name for it. The underdog for me was like, yeah, yeah, and especially the underdog who does things which are um against the norm, is how I'd put it. So like I was just thinking about this. I mean, these examples that come to me, they are embarrassing, I tell you. I dated this guy who was telling me the story about the way he stole a watch. He's a really nice guy, but he stole a watch. And ideally, that should have been a flag in my head, because o- someone who steals is not someone who I want to spend the rest of my life with. Eh, There's something about that. It doesn't link into my value of integrity. So that should have been an immediate sign to tell me, huh? Because he wasn't remorseful. He thought it was a very funny story. And so it tells me I'm not sure if he'd steal again. So there's that. My attraction to people like that is that he gave off the story of the way, because he, life hasn't been fair to him, or it wasn't even that. With him, it was just, just financial struggles like everyone has. Not even struggles, it was just the opportunity to make more money suddenly. A- and I think not even to make money, to have the watch, I guess. Either way, um what where was I going with this? The attraction to the bad boy. Yeah, so I had to look at it and realize that the attraction I have is to these people who are rebels. That's the word. Who rebel against this, who rebel against the system, do things that the normal people are not allowed to do. Because I wasn't allowed to do them. I would never have gotten away with something like that in adulthood. Maybe in childhood I could have tried to sneak something or other. But in adulthood, when I'd been taught that no, 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 don't, then no. So I found this so fascinating. This is someone living the life that I secretly would have wanted to live. But then you need to see it that no, I don't know how. I wonder actually. Now I need to go and do some journaling and inner work searching about this to find out how I have gotten over that interest, that desire, if that shadow part of me that wants to rebel. How am I rebelling? And I can think of a couple of things that I'm doing. So I think I'm on track. Because what happens when you see what is pushing you in that direction, what is attracting you to this bad behavior, and you can connect it, as always for me, it's to my inner child, to the younger version of me who wasn't allowed to do this, and then try and see the shadow now. What is it that I want to do that I'm not allowed to do? Then you give it an avenue. You let it come into the light. Then it's no longer a shadow. It's no longer a bad thing. It's something that you have given space within your life to be. And you've allowed yourself, you've accepted yourself. And it's so, so beautiful when you're accepting these different parts of yourself. So date, and um it might sound easier said than done, but maybe I'm talking also to the girl who's decided that she does not want to date, that dating is too dangerous, that not even dangerous, that dating is too risky, that she's safer by herself. This is some form of avoidance, and maybe there are other reasons that you could look into through the other means, through the therapy, through the coaching, through the counseling, through speaking to someone, through journaling, through all these means that I've mentioned. But the virtue of engaging with other people is that it makes it so much easier to find your triggers. The trigger is this thing that makes you snap. It just makes you so upset. I'm just giving you all my stories, but I'll tell you this one as well. I'll be fast. So I'd gone to this gathering, just a social, was it a networking? It was a networking. It was more just people hanging around. And after work, in Sweden, we call it an after work when you meet up for a drink after work. So I'd gone for one. And then we were just having conversations with different people. And then someone asked me if I watch TV. And I said no. Then he asked me how I relax. Then I got all upset and told him the way I run a podcast, I'm a writer, I'm a coach. There's just so much. I'm a lawyer. There's just so much keeping my day busy. He was like, okay. So later I went and thought about it, and I realized, yes, I do watch TV. And I realized that there's something in me that thought that watching TV was wrong. So then I had to balance those two, the part of me that wants to watch TV and the part of me that thinks it's wrong. And then just find some what's not common ground, but like a baseline, an amount of TV that I can watch so that both of them are getting satisfied. I tell you it's work. I tell you it's being a leader within yourself. Parenting yourself, some like to say. But yeah, then after that, because if I allow myself to watch TV, then it's not a bad thing. Then I'm not shouting at people who are innocently asking me what I do with my spare time. Hi, today I've really given you stories. Okay. Then the last one is experiment with new things. Do one new thing every week, especially if it scares you, even what you find pointless. So this one I haven't managed to do. I forget, unfortunately, but this is something that I really want to put on my calendar. One, one new thing every week, because it could be something really small and something really blah. But the point that you're doing something new is that, in fact, first of all, you might find a new hobby, something that just completely charges you up that you never used to know about. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or you might find that you actually don't like XYZ, and then now you have a reason to it. And when I say these things, it doesn't need to have a cost element attached to it. It could be absolutely anything. Just try one new thing. And my single girls who will say that they don't have the company, they can't do, no, no, no. Your life is complete on your own. Eh? You're not waiting. I think we've said that. At least we've said it in the book, Date Like Cleopatra. The Good Girl Flips the Script by me, Shiro Ndune. We've said that we're not living our lives waiting for people to come and help us, to save us. This Prince Charming that we're thinking is going to come, and after he comes, our life will be perfect. No, 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 no. Now, that is not how we are living this life. We are responsible for our lives daily, on the day to day. So, you today, instead of sitting bored because, oh, your friends don't ask you out, is that the way to put it? Yeah. Or that you just have nothing to do, or that life is boring, pick yourself up and go. I would say for a walk, even. Go for a walk, go to a museum, go to something, go to, what else can you do? Go swimming. I like swimming. Go go, what are the things outside there? And maybe these are the things I need to be figuring out and letting you know. Did I do anything? Go for a concert. Oh, I love going for concerts solo. I go for concerts solo, and it's just fun. One thing I realized at some point in my life is that a lot of my friends did not necessarily like doing the things that I like to do. But I told myself that does not mean that I will not do them. Then I just figured out how to do it. And how you do it by yourself is, drum rolls, you do it. There's no, there's, you do it scared. I was going to say there's nothing to fear, but you are afraid. Do it scared. The first time I started, did some of the things I did, like the first time I went for a dinner by myself, and it wasn't like 1,000 years ago. No, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. That in fact I dressed up. I dressed myself up, and then I went for dinner by myself. I felt silly. I felt silly. In fact, that day trained. I did trained, and I was in heels. Then I just had my umbrella. But then I just went and I just went and I sat down and I ordered. And this time I don't think I was asked if it's a table for one. There's a time that question used to grate at me. I used to feel so, why do you have to shout? Why do you need to be telling the world that this girl is on her own? Daddy, daddy, da. Now I don't notice it. Now I'm as loud saying, yes. I'm the one asking, table for one. Yeah. Because it's fine. I'm no longer embarrassed by it. And that's the thing with facing the things that shame you, that you feel ashamed about, or that you fear. Then you don't fear them again. Because after that, I had my dinner. I didn't die. I enjoyed myself. And I went back home in the rain. So challenge yourself to do something that scares you. And you'll find that life becomes so much more interesting when you allow yourself to live it. Yes. I absolutely appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining me for this one. I've really enjoyed this one. And I shall see you in the next one. If you like this, listen to these ones. They're also in the same kind of range, in the same kind of topic. And I shall see you next time. Bye bye.